In all my videos in the past, I have shown you how to publish either a paperback book or a Kindle ebook on Amazon KDP, but I have yet to post a video on how you would go about publishing a hardcover book. So in this video, I will go over some of the key differences between publishing a paperback book versus a hardcover book and walk you through step by step from interior page design to book cover creation and finally to getting your hardcover book uploaded and published on KDP. In addition to all of that, I will also be sharing a bonus interior page design tip that I have never shared before in any of my other videos. So if this sounds interesting to you, make sure you stick around to the end of the video. And if you end up enjoying this video, please don't forget to give me a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more. And let's get started.
So before we get started, there are three main differences I want to highlight to you between publishing a paperback versus a hardcover book on KDP. So the first thing is that the number of available trim sizes is different. As you can see here, and this is the help page for hardcover books, you'll see that there are only 5 available trim sizes for hardcover books. If we come back to this trim size bleed and margins page for KDP here, you will see that under paperback, there are 16 different options you could choose from for your book's dimensions, whereas for hardcover, it would have to be one of these 5 trim sizes. So for purposes of this video later, you'll see that we had decided to pick a 6x9, but this is something that you want to keep in mind is that not all of the trim sizes that were available for paperback are available for hardcover. Secondly, the minimum and maximum number of pages for a hardcover book is 75 pages to 550 pages, meaning that your book needs to have at least 75 pages, whereas for paperback, if you recall, the minimum number of pages is typically only 24. And thirdly, the marketplaces in which you can publish your hardcover book is also more limited when compared to publishing paperback books. Here you'll see that you can publish your hardcover book in these marketplaces, which includes Amazon.com, Amazon.co.uk, Amazon.de, ESFR, and IT. However, if you're looking to publish on Amazon.ca or Amazon.com.au, which is Australia, they aren't actually listed as primary marketplaces for hardcover books. So to make your hardcover book available in those marketplaces, you'll need to actually make it available on Amazon.com. So this is the third difference where paperbacks, you can actually have it published in all of these marketplaces, whereas the distribution for hardcover books is a bit more limited. So let's assume we want to create a gratitude journal for kids with the following specifications. For a book's dimension, we're going to pick 6 inches by 9 inches. In terms of the number of pages, we're going to have 100 pages. And remember, because we're going to print in hardcover instead of paperback, KDP actually requires you to have at least 75 pages. So in our case, we'd be okay because we're picking 100 pages. For binding, like I mentioned, we're going to try printing in hardcover instead of our usual paperback. And interior pages, I'm going to pick black and white, but it's up to you. You could print in color if you prefer to, but just from a cost perspective, black and white will probably allow me to have a bit of a higher profit margin. So each time before you create your book, you should already have decided on these specs that we just discussed because you will require them as inputs to generate the correct book cover size and interior margins for your book. And you definitely don't want to start designing and then realize at the end that all your margins are off and then your text or design will end up being cut off when it gets printed later. Let me start off by showing you how to get started with creating the interior pages of our gratitude journal. The first step is we want to come to the KDP website. Under their help topics, they have a page that talks about trim size, bleeds, and margins. This link I have also linked below in the description section of this video so you can easily reference it when you go ahead and make your coloring book interior. So what we want to do now is scroll down from here, and the section we're looking for is the section called bleed. And there we go. So when we say that the interior has no bleed, that means there is a little white space all around each of your pages, essentially creating a border around your graphic and text elements on each page. When we say that the interior is with bleed, that means there is no white border around your page and your graphic or text elements essentially bleeds to the edge of each of your pages. So in the context of our gratitude journal, what that means is in the case of no bleed, there will be a white space around all your pages, whereas in the case of with with bleed, you could have lines or borders or even background graphic elements that fills up to the edge of your pages. I personally prefer to choose with bleed as it then allows my graphic elements, borders, or lines in the case of say a line journal to go all the way to the edge of the page, which I feel gives my pages a more professional and seamless look. However, either would work and it is really up to you which one you choose. Okay, so what we need from here is once we decided we want bleed or no bleed, then we'll come down here to the tables. We want to pick the one that says examples of page size with and without bleed for KDP Amazon.com because the one below it is for Japan, so likely not applicable for most of you as well. So we're going to expand this and you'll see a table down here. So what this table tells us is the page size and dimension that we'll need to put into Canva later to help set up our interior pages, because we want to make sure that we set up the page properly so that we don't run into issues when we upload it to KDP for printing later. Because we had picked with bleed, we'll have to look at this column here. And as you recall from earlier, we had decided that we were going to publish a book that is 6 inches by 9 inches, which would mean that the page size that we should put into Canva later is 6.125 inches by 9.25 inches. So now let us hop over onto Canva to complete the setup process of our interior pages. Okay, so what you want to do is log into Canva, which I've already done so here. And for those of you who are not familiar with Canva, this is basically a very powerful online design tool with a huge selection of design elements, templates, and features that you can use to bring your creative vision to life for anything from notebooks to posters to social media content or even children's storybooks. So first of all, make sure you log in, and if you haven't already gotten your account set up, you will need to set one up. I have included a link below this video where you can sign up for your Canva account, and there are basically two options when it comes to Canva. There's the free account where there's no time limit, but you don't have access to as many creative elements, and then you can also sign up for a 30-day free trial of the pro account. This will give you access to Canva's entire library of design elements and features, and after the 30-day trial period, you can decide if you want to pay for it on an ongoing basis, or you can also choose to downgrade back to the free option. Now that we're in Canva, we're going to input the dimensions we had gotten from the KDP page earlier, which is 6.125 by 9.25 inches. So let's click on create a design, then click on custom size. Then here you want to first change the units from pixels to inches, and this is extremely important, so don't forget to do this. And now we're going to put in 6.125 by 9.25, and I'm going to click on create a new design. And now you can see that our page has been set up with the correct dimensions. So we're not completely done yet, as we will now need to set up the margins for our interior pages. Knowing where the margins are is extremely important, as this will ensure we keep all our critical graphic elements or text within the margins so they don't risk being cut off during printing. So we're going to come back to the same KDP page I was showing you earlier, and we're going to scroll down to the margins section. There we go. And in this margin section, you're going to see a table, and within the table, you want to look for the first column, which says page count. And in our case, since we're going for 100 pages, we would fall under this 24 to 150 pages row. So if you look across, you'll see the margins that would be required. So the inside gutter margins will need to be 0.375 inches. And in terms of the outside margins, there would be two columns. So one is for no bleed and one is for with bleed. In our case, since we selected with bleed, we would actually be looking at this column instead, so which will also be 0.375 inches. So basically our inside margins will be 0.375 inches and our outside margins will also be 0.375 inches. So remember that number, and now we're going to hop back over to Canva to create those margins. So as you can see, I already have rulers on this side here, but if you don't see that on your screen, then go ahead and use the shortcut key Shift+R to bring out those rulers. And if that didn't work, you can also go to the drop down menu above, just go to Files, then Settings, and then click on Show Rulers and Guides. So now what we want to do is to drag the margin out from the ruler. It doesn't have to be exact, better to be slightly over than slightly under. So we can zoom in the page a little bit more, and remember we want 0.375 inches. So let's drag this left margin out. Okay, so maybe if we zoom in, it would be a little bit easier. So you can see the number at the top right there, 0.3. Oh, 0.375 right there. So that is perfect. So now instead of trying to drag from the ruler for all of the other sides as well, I'm going to show you an easier way. So we're going to come to elements. We're going to grab a shape. And what we're going to do is to shrink down the shape to fit exactly in this margin. And make sure you press down the shift key when you're shrinking down so that it stays as a square, or else it might turn into a rectangle. So shrink it down. And we're going to put it here and just going to adjust it to make sure it's exactly that size. Okay, so now we're going to bring that square over here and just drag it based on the size of the square, so we'll know that it is the correct margin, because as you remember, it's 0.375 inches for all four sides of the page. Okay, and we're going to bring this one down here, and we're going to drag the ruler down as well. And once we're done, we can delete the square, and now we have all our margins created. So in this step, I'm going to show you how you can create the interior pages for your gratitude journal from scratch using Canva. And basically the skills that I'm going to teach you today in this step is something that you can really take away and apply to any other type of journal with prompts. You can just change out the layout, change out the font, and change out the type of questions that you would ask. The other thing is you definitely want to stay tuned, because I'm actually going to show you a bonus tip as well as part of this step that I have never shown in any of my videos before, so stay tuned. Now to get started, let's start putting this page together, and there are a lot of ways you can do this, and you can also put different types of questions. So I'm going to just show you how I'm going to do it today, and I'm going to bring down the line weight a little bit. So basically I went to elements, I went to shapes, and I grabbed a line. So I grabbed one line here, and then I went to line weight and I brought it down to 1 because I prefer a thinner line. And so maybe what I could do is I can add some text first, and I will put date, just because this is going to be a journal and it's something that the kids can write in it every single day. It's a good idea to sort of have a date there so they could track down which date they wrote which entry. And I'm going to just change up the font a little bit. It's too big. We're down to 18, and I am going to change the font to something else. So School Bell seems like a cute font for kids, and I'm just going to lay it out roughly for now, and we can shift things around later. And so maybe I'm going to use this again, and I'm going to copy and paste that, and I'm going to write 3 things I am grateful for today, and I'm going to move that out. Okay, and I'm going to get a heart. So I'm doing black and white pages, so everything's going to be black and white on this page, and I just want to put a little heart here so it looks a little cuter. I'm just going to put it right at the edge of the page. Remember not to go over any of the margins. And now I have this line that I made previously. I'm going to stretch it out, and to keep it straight you can press shift when you're stretching it out. And again, I want to bring down the line weight. Right now it's 4. I want it thinner, so it's going to be 1. And I'm going to copy and paste this another time here. I'm going to allow them to write 3 things. Copy this again, paste it, and I just need it for the numbers. 2, 3. Okay, and this is just how I'm going to do it today. There's so many ways you can put together a page for a gratitude journal. So it's really just an example for you to see what's possible. So I'm going to put today's act of kindness, which would be a nice little reminder for children that they should try to do something nice for someone every day. And I'm going to copy this heart down here, and I'm going to take another line, copy it, paste it, and this time I can stretch it out a little bit because I don't need to put the numbers. Okay, I'm going to adjust it more later. I'm going to copy this, paste it here. And in here I'll put something I learned today. Bring a heart down, copy and paste, and I will copy these 2 lines and bring it down under this other prompt here. And I think at this part I'm gonna just put a part where they could get a little bit more creative, so I'm gonna allow them to draw something. So I'm gonna say draw something that makes me happy. Peace, another heart. And this time, instead of a line, I'm gonna go grab a square. And you can see there's color in this one. I don't want the color, I want it black and white, so I'm going to come here and put no color. Then you can see that it became invisible. I want to make sure there's an outline around it, so I'll go up here, press on these lines, and I'm going to put a line, and then as you can see, border weight is showing 4. I want it thinner. I'm going to bring it down. Okay, perfect. So now I'm going to just stretch this out and bring it down. Perfect. And I could now add some graphics here. Just make sure if you're printing in black and white that you only get black and white graphics. So I'm gonna put black and white B, see what I get. Okay, so some of these are pretty cute. Maybe I'll grab this one. Perfect. And maybe I'll add a butterfly or something. And move it smaller, put it right here. Okay, so let's say if I'm happy, this is where I'm going to show you my bonus tip shortly. Let me move this up a little bit and just give them this much space. So as you recall, we're going to have 100 pages for this book. This is the first page, but they're pretty much going to repeat itself page after page. But what I want to do is actually have something a little bit unique for each of the pages. So I'm going to have a quote here, and I want the quote to be, related to gratitude. It's, kid-friendly gratitude quote. And I want the quote to be different on every single page. So now I'm going to show you a bonus tip that will allow us to do that very quickly and easily. But before I get into that, I just want to give a quick shout out to Skillshare, the sponsor of today's video. Skillshare is my favorite learning platform and has allowed me to learn pretty much every skill that I need to grow my KDP business. If you're not familiar with Skillshare, it is the largest online learning community for creatives with thousands of classes taught by industry experts across illustration, design, videography, productivity, and so much more. Recently, I completed another illustration class on Skillshare called Draw Cute Animal Characters in Procreate, and it was so cute and awesome. The underlying topics were broken down into easy to digest step-by-step instructions, making the learning process so fun and seamless. There is no better time than right now to learn new skills on Skillshare and take your KDP journey to the next level. And I have some good news for you. The first 500 people to use my link in the description will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. So why not get started today? So what I want to do now is to add a little text box here so I can put in a quote for each page, and it's going to be a unique quote, and like I mentioned, I'm going to show you how to do this. But actually before I do that, I want to add some more designs here. So I'm going to see if I can find a cloud border and put at the bottom. Let's find one that might look good for this space. This one looks pretty good. So I'm going to put it down here, and it's okay that I put it over the margins just because I'm actually okay for some part of it to get cut off. So that's why I'm going to leave it here, and I'm going to bring this down. I'm going to leave this up here. And so what I'm going to do here is to grab another shape, and this time I'm going to grab this one here. And you don't have to do it the exact way that I'm showing you. These are just examples of ways that you could do it. And I'm just going to change this color to perhaps a darker gray, but not too dark. Okay, perfect. And now I'm going to add a text box right on there. Maybe I'll just put quote for now. And I'm going to change the font size to 13 and change the font back to the same as everything else. Okay, perfect. Now we're ready to do something really cool. So we're actually going to head over to ChatGPT. And so we have 100 pages in total, but the first page I'm going to do what this page belongs to, and then the page behind that I'll just kind of leave it blank. So really we have 98 pages of content. So I'm going to ask for, give me 98 gratitude quotes for kids. And let's see what it comes up with. And these are perfect because they're nice and short. And looks like it's done. So I'm going to copy and paste all of these into an Excel document. So I'm going to hit copy. I'm going to come to Excel and I'm just going to paste it. So these are very nice quotes. Gratitude turns what we have into enough. Start each day with a thankful heart. Gratitude is the best attitude. So these are awesome. Actually, before I save this, I'm going to add an extra row because that one is more like titles. I'm just going to put gratitude quotes. Okay, so once we have the 98 quotes all here, you added the heading, we're going to come to save as, and we're going to go to downloads, and I'm going to put it as gratitude quotes. And the save as type, I'm going to save it as a CSV file, and we're going to hit save, and there we go. So now we're going to hop back over to Canva. So once I'm back in Canva, what I want to do is actually scroll down to the apps icon on the left hand panel. Click on that. You're going to scroll down to where it says Data Autofill. So click on that and we're going to select Data Source, which is where we're going to select the Excel/CSV file we had just saved. And we're going to click on Open and there we go. So what you want to do here on this page now is to select where you want the quotes to go. So this is the place where I want the quotes to go. So I'm going to select on this text box and I'm going to click on Connect to Data. And I'm going to select gratitude quotes and I'll click on continue. And you'll see that very quickly it populated all of them here. And if for whatever reason you want to unselect some of them, you could go ahead and do that. But in my case, I want all 98 of them to create 98 different pages. So I'm just going to click on generate 98 designs. And let's give it some time to work its magic. And very quickly you will see that it has went from 1 page to 98 pages. And each of the pages now have a different quote based on what I had just uploaded. So this one says gratitude turns what we have into enough. This one says start each day with a thankful heart. This one says gratitude is the best attitude, and so on and so forth. So this saves a lot of time. Instead of you having to copy and paste a different quote yourself manually into 98 different pages, it just automatically does it for you. So I really love this trick and I hope you like it as well. So what you want to do is just to quickly scroll through and make sure all the quotes look like they're in the right place, or you can go to the grid view and kind of see it all at once. You just want to make sure nothing's coming out of the borders or too long or doesn't fit a line here, but they all look very good. So now, as I mentioned before, I want to add a first page that says this page belongs to, and then I'm going to have the page that is behind this page to be blank, so I'm just going to leave that blank. So now I'm going to come to this first blank page and I'm going to create my this page belongs to page. So you want to kind of have similar elements. So I'm going to start with these clouds. Just going to put them at the bottom somewhere and flip it vertically. And I'm going to add some text. This book belongs to, and I'm going to highlight this, make sure we have the same font as the rest of the book just for a consistency perspective, and so that looks good. Now I'm going to add a line to be underneath so the child could write their name here, and this is technically good enough. If you want, you can also go ahead and add some more elements, so I'm just going to add the B for consistency because I think we have that in the inside of the book, and I think that looks great. So now basically this will be the first page when they open up the book, and then this would be blank on the back side of this page, and then we'll have the 98 pages with the same prompts but a different quote on each page. And in total we should have 100 pages, which is perfect. And let's say we're happy with our interior, we can go ahead and download it. So let's go to share, click on download. We want to download it as PDF print, and we do want to flatten PDF. And we're gonna select all pages. And because I'm sending this for printing, so RGB is best for digital use. For example, if you're creating an ebook or something that's meant to be shared electronically, then RGB is best. But for printing purposes, CMYK is actually best. And this is actually a pro capability. So if you don't have Canva Pro, you won't be able to save it as a CMYK, which is fine, in which case you can just use the RGB and it's not gonna be that big of a difference anyways. But since I have it, I'm just gonna use this. That's it. And click on download. Before we start designing our coloring book cover, we will first need to set up the cover template in Canva. What you want to do now is hop onto Amazon KDP Cover Calculator, and I will include the link in the description section of this video so you can easily reference it later. So this is basically where you would want to enter all the specs that we had decided on earlier, like the number of pages, the size of the book, etc. And once we have all this information in the form, it will basically help us generate a book cover template which we can use in Canva later. So let's go ahead and start putting in the information. So for binding type, we're going to select hardcover. For interior type, we're going to select black and white because our pages are going to just be in black and white. Paper type, I'm going to select white paper. Cream paper is more the yellowish type of paper that is commonly used for novels. Reading direction is typically left to right. This basically means that when you read the book, you would read it from the left page to the right page. In terms of measurement units, we're going to use inches. And coming down to interior trim size, as you can see, because we selected hardcover, there would only be 5 available trim sizes. And previously we had decided that we're going to go with a 6" by 9" book. So we're going to select 6 by 9. And page count, we had previously said we were going to have 100 pages. So we're going to put in 100. And remember, because we had selected hardcover, the minimum number of pages you need to put in is at least 75. So once we have all this information put in, we're going to click on calculate dimensions. And from here, we're going to click on download template. So now we'll see that a zip file has been downloaded to our computer, and I'm going to open up the PNG file in there. So where it says overall dimensions, 13.989 inches by 10.417 inches is the dimension that you will now need to put into Canva. So now let us hop back over to Canva to put this information in. So once we're back in Canva, we want to click on create a design. We're going to go to custom size below. And again, you want to make sure units is selected as inches instead of pixels. And what we're going to do is put in the dimensions we had in the cover template earlier. So let's flip back over here. 13.989. So I'm going to put in 13.989 times 10.417. 10.417. And we're going to click on create a new design. And now we have the template set up properly in Canva. So the next thing we want to do is to actually upload the template that we had downloaded from the KDP cover calculator into this Canva file here. So there are a number of ways you could do it. You can either just go back here to the PNG file and just do a Control-C and Control-V to paste it in. So copy and paste. And I know some people sometimes have issues with the copy and paste function where it's not working. So the other way you could also bring the template in is to just go to uploads and just upload the PNG file and then just bring it into the template here. So that would work as well, but copy and pasting is probably just faster. And once we've pasted this template in here, we have everything that we need to actually start working and designing our cover. Okay, so to get started now, I'm going to first put a background over this. And so I've already pre-selected some elements that I know I want to use for my cover. These are all from Canva, so you can basically just go search for anything that you want and you can pull them into your book cover. So in my case, I've already pre-selected some elements that I know I want to use. So in terms of the background, I have selected this craft paper looking type of texture background, which I quite like. It looks a little unique, but it's really up to you what background or elements you want to use for yours. So this is just for demonstration purposes. So once I put in the background, what I also want to do is to come to this transparency function here and bring down the transparency a little bit. The idea is I want to be able to see through that so that I can still see the margins and the barcode where things are, to make sure that none of my text or critical elements or graphic elements are actually going over any of these margins. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is to pull in these polka dots, which I thought were quite cute for the background as well, just to add a bit of pop. And so I'm going to stretch it out to fill the page. Then I am going to pull in another one. Hopefully they line up exactly, just to fill in the rest of the space. And as you can see, this is a half circle, so I want to make sure they actually line up properly. Okay, so once I have that, I'm going to bring in a shape. And I'm going to turn this into navy blue, turn it around a little bit. So making sure everything is within the margins. And I'm actually going to duplicate this. So Control-C and Control-V to copy and paste. I'm going to change the color of the second one to maybe a yellow color. Okay, and maybe a little lighter. Okay, that looks pretty good. And I'm going to shrink that one, just to create a bit of contrast. So now I'm going to first go and add in my text. So this is a gratitude journal. I'm going to put gratitude, and actually I'm going to copy and paste that and put journal. But what I do want to do is to change the font and some of the effects for the font. So I've pre-selected a font that I know I want to use. Wonderful branding. Gonna bring it down to maybe a lower font size. I also want to change the font color. So I'm going to change it to white, but I also want to add an effect so that there's an outline around the text. So I'm going to put outline. I'm going to select this as black outline, and I'm going to increase the thickness maybe to 120 so the black outline is a bit thicker. Okay, so that's not bad. So for journal, I'm also going to change the font. I'm going to change it to this one and perhaps to 65. Again, I want to change the font to white, add an effect of an outline and select black outline. Again, move the thickness up to 120 and there we go. So you can adjust the font size. Okay, so let's say I'm happy with this. Now I can start pulling in some of the other fun elements as well. So let's come back here to some of my pre-selected graphics. I'm going to put in a flower, maybe somewhere up top here, and maybe a star down here. And then pull in a B, shrink it down. I should maybe have it go this way. And then put in a purple flower, but the other way around. Bring the B down a little bit, maybe a bit smaller so they don't overlap. And now I'm going to bring in another B, flip that one around. Get a bit bigger, angle it for a bit of effect. And now I'm going to bring in the rainbow. So you can really put these anywhere you want, and you can put in any graphics. So this is more for demonstration purposes, what you can do. And again, make sure nothing goes over the margins, especially these critical graphic elements. And you can turn the angle a little bit if you want. And let's add in this red flower here as well. Shrink it down, make sure everything fits. That looks pretty good. Remember that this journal is for kids, so I do want to label it somewhere that this is for kids. I'm going to bring in this little green strip here, perhaps angle it a bit, put this layer on top, just make sure it overlaps. And now I'm going to go back to text and I'm going to add a subheading smaller, and I'm going to put for kids. Again, I want to change the font and font size. So with the font, I want to match the font that I have in the interior of the book. So I think I use School Bells. I'm going to change it to that. And then in terms of font color, I'm going to choose white. Effects, I'm going to add an outline again. Change this to black. So I'm going to bring it here, angle it properly, and shrink it down to fit. And there we go. So now what we can do is bring back up the transparency, just so you can see the final product. The other thing you could also do is, maybe what I'm going to do is add a shape here. I want to add some color at the binding. So I'll actually have to bring back down the transparency just so I can see where the spine is going to be. And I'm going to make the spine blue. Now I can bring back the transparency up and move these polka dots back up. So this would be the front cover and this would be the back cover. And assuming that we're happy with this, we can go ahead and download this book cover. So we're going to come to share, come down to download. For file type, you want to select PDF print. Then you do want to select flatten PDF, and CMYK is good. But if you don't have Pro, you can select RGB. So I'm going to select CMYK and I'm going to go ahead and download this. So once you have completed your book cover and book interior and have downloaded those files from Canva onto your computer, we're now ready for our next step, which is uploading it and publishing it onto Amazon KDP. Right now, what you want to do is to log into your Amazon KDP account, and if you don't already have one, you will need to set one up. So once you've logged in, what you want to do is to come down to the Create button here and click on that. And it's going to ask you what type of book you're looking to create. In our case today, we're going to select Create Hardcover. And now it's going to ask you a series of questions regarding your book so that it can properly publish it for you. So scrolling down the forum in terms of language, I'm going to keep it as English. For book title, I already thought of a book title we could use. Given that our cover had a lot of bees, I thought it would be cute to say, Be Grateful, and then a kid's gratitude journal. And then for the subtitle, we can put in inspiring prompts and uplifting quotes to nurture thankfulness every day. Series, we're going to skip over that since this book is not going to be part of a series. Edition number, we don't need to put in anything either, so we're going to skip over that as well. For author name, you can either put in your real name or you can put in a pen name. Most people usually just use a pen name. So in our case, we're just going to put in Cute and Fun Publishing, and we don't have any other contributors, so we're going to skip over that. For description, this is what I'm going to put in. You can really put in anything you want, but ideally you want to be able to speak to some of the specifications of the book, as well as kind of speak to some of the benefits of your book to really let your potential customers know why they should be buying this book. So in our case, we put Be Grateful, a kid's gratitude journal, helps children develop a daily habit of thankfulness through fun prompts and uplifting quotes. Designed with kids in mind, this journal inspires reflection, connection and positivity in an engaging, creative way. So you want to put in some key features. So in our case, we wanted to highlight the fact that this is a 6 by 9 inch book. It's hardcover. We're also going to be printing it on premium white paper. It's also beautifully designed with kid-friendly illustrations, daily prompts, and unique quotes to nurture gratitude. Remember how we put in a different quote for every single page, and there are 98 pages of prompts, so we want to put that there as well. And it's perfect for kids who love to express their thoughts and cultivate a positive mindset. So that's an example for a description. And now scrolling further down, you want to click on I own the copyright and I hold necessary publishing rights. Answer to this is no. Reading age. So this really depends on your specific book or the journal that you're publishing. It could be for adults, it could be for kids. In my case, I would say probably someone at 4 years old to maybe even 16 would enjoy this book. In terms of primary marketplace, I'm going to keep it as Amazon.com. Okay, so now we want to choose categories that are most applicable to the book that we're publishing, which is this Kids Gratitude Journal. So it could take some time to scroll through to find the appropriate category, so let's go ahead and do that. In our case, I think I'm going to go with children's books. Then from there, we need to pick a subcategory. Let's go with education and reference and reading and writing, and we can click on journal writing. Now we have our first category selected. Let's go ahead and pick our second category, and we can basically pick 3 categories. So let's go back to children's books, and perhaps this time I'm going to pick on activities, crafts, and games, and it's kind of an activity book, so I'm going to select that as well. Maybe put diaries, I guess nonfiction, because you'd be writing about your real life every day, what you're thankful for. So I'm going to select that for now, and then I'm going to try to add in a third category if I can find something that is applicable. So you can also scroll down further to see if there might be anything else beyond children's books that might be applicable as well. And let's see what literature and fiction says. Nope, not too applicable. So I'm going to come back to children's books again and see if we could find a third category from here. Education reference, which we previously picked, growing up and facts of life, difficult discussions, friendship, social life, and school life. First day of school. Okay, so this works. So friendship, social skills, and school life. And then in terms of subcategory from that point, we can put inspirational and personal growth, because harnessing gratitude within children is part of personal growth. So I'm going to pick that. So we have our 3 categories now. Let's save that. And so moving on, is asking you, does your book classify as any of these types? Choose all that apply. Low content book. So in our case, it is actually a low content book because pretty much all of our pages are exactly the same. We did have a unique quote on all of the pages just to make it more attractive to our customers, but at the end of the day, it is still a low content book because all of the prompts are exactly the same on every single page. So if you were to publish a line journal, that would also be considered low content book. If you were to publish a storybook where every page is different with different graphics and a story and a plot, those would not be considered low content book. So in our case, we will check this off. So now we're going to enter up to 7 keywords that relates to your book. Ideally, you want to pick a keyword that is as relevant as possible to the book that you're publishing, because the 7 keywords that you're putting in here is basically telling Amazon that these are the keywords I want my book to show up for. So let's say if my first keyword that I put in is gratitude journal for kids, then I'm basically telling Amazon that if someone searches for gratitude journal for kids, I would like my book to show up for that search term. So ideally, you want to pick something that is super relevant to your book and also not too competitive, because if there are already 100,000 books listed under that keyword, then it's unlikely that the customers are going to be able to actually see your book, even if your book is slotted under that search term. So you could either go through and just put in keywords that you feel are relevant, but what I usually do is I would go to Amazon.com, and I actually have a subscription with the Self-Publishing Titans, so they have a really cool tool that is a Chrome extension. And so when I put in, let's say, gratitude journal for kids, and I click on a Chrome extension button here, it will automatically generate a list of keywords that are associated with that word, and it will also show me the search volume and search results associated with the other suggested terms, and they also visually show you whether the demand and opportunity has a high demand and opportunity score. So basically anything that is shaded in green means that it is good. So let's quickly take a look. So gratitude journal for kids is actually good in that the demand score is 6 and the opportunity score is 9, meaning that there is a decent amount of demand for it. So the estimated search volume is actually 7,000, which is not bad. And in the opportunity score, there are only 1,939 search results within that search term, which also makes it not too competitive. For that reason, I put in gratitude journal for kids, and let's see if there's anything else that they would recommend. So there's also gratitude journal kids. So maybe I'll put that in as well. Gratitude journal kids. Let me come back here and let's take a look. Gratitude journals for kids. That's okay too. I can put that in there. Gratitude journals for kids. And I don't see anything else here that seems to suggest that it would be good from a demand perspective as well as an opportunity perspective. So the other thing you can do is just kind of think of if there's anything else that might be relevant for your book. Maybe I'll take out for kids and see what shows up when I just put gratitude journal. And so with gratitude journal for men, which is not really relevant for our book, there's gratitude journal Christian, which is not specific to the book that we had just published. And let's keep going. There's daily gratitude journal for women. If you feel that your book can also be marketed to women, you can potentially put that there as well. In my case, I feel like it is quite kid specific. So gratitude journal with prompts seem to be a potential one that we could use. So let's put that in there. That also has a high score. Gratitude journal with prompts. Also gonna see what else there is. There's gratitude journal with prompts, gratitude journal notebook, could use that as well. And there is gratitude journal for kids, which we had already put in. So we gotta get a little creative. Let's think what else we could potentially search for. Let's say we put gratitude notebook if anything comes up. So we already had gratitude journal notebook. There's gratitude journals for women. Gratitude journal with prompts. I think we had already put that in as well. And so I could put gratitude journal women. I'm just a little hesitant because our book is quite childish in the cover and everything. So it's not really marketed towards women. So even if I rank for that search term, people who are looking for a gratitude journal for women are unlikely to purchase my book. So let's try something else. Let's try journal with prompts and see what we get. Okay, so we have daily journal with prompts, which is pretty good, and journal with prompts for kids. So let's go with that. Journal with prompts for kids, and we have daily journal with prompts. Journal with prompts. There we go. We have our 7 keywords. Now we can move on to our next step, which is publication date. So for publication date, we're going to leave it as publication date and release date are the same. This means that this is a brand new book that we've never published in the past, and when Amazon makes it live for us, that's also the same as the publication date. However, if your book has previously been published in the past, maybe through a different platform or somewhere else, and you're now uploading it to Amazon KDP to have it available on KDP as well, you would want to click the second option. But in our case, we're going to leave it as the first option. And then for release date, I'm going to leave it at release my book for sale now, which means that usually once you upload your book and try to publish it, it's going to take Amazon up to 72 hours to review your book to make sure there are no issues from a formatting perspective or copyright perspective. And once they're good with it, they're going to make your book go live. So I'm going to leave it at this option and I'm going to go and save and continue. Okay, so now coming down to this question, ISBN. So basically because we're publishing a low content book, you technically do not need an ISBN, so I can just go ahead and publish without an ISBN. And print options, we want to select interior and paper type. So we're going to have black and white interior with white paper. So this is already selected for us. Perfect. And interior trim size, yes, I do want 6x9. If for whatever reason you want to publish something else, you can just click here and pick the appropriate size. But in our case, we're doing a 6x9 inch journal. And for bleed, we did say we want bleed. So I'm going to click this. And then cover finish, you can either pick a matte or glossy. I'm going to pick glossy. Okay, so upload manuscript. This is basically our book's interior. So you would want to go to your downloads and select the interior PDF file that you had previously saved from Canva. So it might take a bit of time to upload it, just given the file size. So we're just going to wait for this to upload and then move on to the next step. Okay, so now we can go to the book cover upload. So you can either use their cover creator, which I actually rarely use. I usually use Canva to put my covers together. So since we had already created a cover from Canva earlier and downloaded it to our computer, we're just going to upload that cover. So we're going to click on upload your cover file, go to cover, open, and there we go. So the next question they asked is, does your cover include a barcode? So in the cover that we created in Canva, we didn't already have our own barcode. So some other books, they may already have a barcode because it was previously published. But in our case, since we don't have a barcode, we're going to leave this unchecked. And if we leave this unchecked, then Amazon will help us add a barcode when they print it for us. So that's good. And then now we have to answer a series of questions as to whether we had used any AI generated content. So you want to be as transparent as you can. If you did use AI, you want to actually select yes. In our case, we used Canva for most of everything. The only thing that we used AI for was to get the 98 daily quotes that we put at the bottom of each of our pages. So I would click yes, and that would be a text. So I would say some sections with minimal or no editing, some sections with extensive editing. So I would put some sections with minimal or no editing, and we can put Chat GPT here. And then images, none. We used Canva Elements, which wasn't from an AI tool, so we're good. We also don't have any translation, so I think that is a fair response. And now let's launch our previewer, and basically they're going to give you a preview of what your book would look like. So this is going to take a couple of minutes as well, so let's wait for that and we can take a look at what our book is going to look like. Okay, so this is our cover, and as you can see, they also show you the margins to make sure you can check that nothing is going beyond the margins. I think we're pretty good in terms of our critical graphic elements and their text here, so we can now move on to the next page. So again, they'll show you the margins. I'm okay with the clouds getting cut off a bit, so that looks fine. And all our text and everything is within the margins, and you see the quote here that we have that is different for every page. So I think that looks great. So what you want to do is actually click through everything to make sure you're fine. And let's say we've done that and you're fine with it, then we're going to click on approve. And that's going to take us back to this form. So I'm going to scroll all the way back down. And we're good. So now we're going to save and continue and move on to the next step. Okay, so now for territories, we're going to leave it as all territories that we have worldwide rights to the book that we're publishing. In terms of primary marketplace, I usually leave it as Amazon.com. And now for pricing, royalties, and distribution, this is where you'll need to decide how much you want to price your book at. And once you put in your price, it'll also show you the printing costs as well as your estimated royalties. So let's go ahead and put in, and I believe from the previous screen I saw that the printing cost was around $680. So I need to make sure I'm pricing above that. And also this is a hardcover book, so I could probably price a little bit higher than a usual paperback book because the printing cost for a hardcover book is also more expensive. So I'm going to put in, just for demonstration purposes, $12.99 for now. And so with $12.99, because the printing cost is $680 and the royalty rate that I would get is 60%, that only gives me about $1 in royalty. So you can adjust the price a little bit depending on how much profit you want to make. And also what's important is to take a look at Amazon and take a look at other books that are also hardcover, maybe in the same niche, to see how much they are selling at, because you want to be around the same as your competition. And when you're publishing it initially, you could even go slightly lower. Just make sure you're still making some amount of royalty. But if you price it slightly lower than your competition, then that might attract more people to buy it at the beginning, just to give you that momentum to start. So for now, I'm going to just leave it at $12.99. And you can see that it will automatically populate the prices for all the other marketplaces. And now we're going to go to terms and conditions, which, like I mentioned earlier, it's going to take Amazon up to 72 hours to review the book that you upload today. And they're going to check for formatting issues, making sure there aren't any copyright issues or that your book is not misleading, and that it will provide customers with a good shopping experience. So once you publish your book today, just know that you'll have to wait around 72 hours before your book will go live. And so once you're comfortable with that, you can go ahead and click on Publish Your Hardcover Book. And there we go. Your hardcover has now been submitted to Amazon, and once they've done the review and they're comfortable with your book will go live and be available for customers to purchase online.
So that's it for now. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to give me a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you next time.